It is expected that a top Labour figure's audacious statement in Parliament will withstand investigation, but what occurs when politicians, campaigners, and even former government officials dispute the facts that a storm is rising over the Chagos Islands? They must deal with allegations of deceptive remarks, assertions of inadequate consultation, and inquiries over the UK's negotiation position. David Lammy is in the middle of everything, and as usual, under fire, we'll talk about this story and offer our reactions while reviewing the most recent national news. However, before we do so, please click the like button, subscribe to Chanel, and become a part of our rapidly expanding community. I wanted to quickly let you know that we do have new On Air t-shirts available on our store. Visit British.com or click the link in the Lammy, David false description. David Lammy has been charged with deceiving the House of Commons regarding the Labour's choice agreement. The campaign group Chosan Voices sent a letter to the Foreign Secretary after Labour MP Peter Lamb claimed that there was evidence that Lammy's and the Commons statements did not seem to be true. The letter and Lamb's remarks refer to Lamb's claims that the government had kept the Chagosians informed throughout the process. This comes as James deftly stepped up his criticism, asserting that Labour ministers had placed themselves in a very weak negotiating position during discussions on Monday. The former Tory Foreign Secretary asserted that he always made sure that certain red lines were in place during talks. Negotiating is one thing, but I always made sure that certain red lines were in place, and if the negotiations crossed those red lines, then I wouldn't have accepted a deal. He told Times Radio that, in fact, after a year of talks, I never reached a position that I was comfortable with, which is why I never approved a deal. He accused Labour of drastically shifting the UK's position without keeping them informed, adding that they had put themselves in a very weak negotiating position, which is why Mayors keep returning for more money and concessions. However, a Downing Street spokesman stated that the government's priority has always been to protect your strategic interests, both UK and US. The backlash comes as Chosan Voices have asked lawyers to challenge the CHOS deal, claiming that Foreign Office Minister Stephen Dye was refusing to discuss the negotiations with them and that they hadn't even met with Lammy, despite the government's claims that they had been speaking with Koyans during the talks. The legal letter demands that Lammy correct the record on remarks that the group claimed were demonstrably incorrect and also urges the government to engage with the Chosan people instead of simply making decisions that are thought to be politically expedient. According to the letter, persons immediately impacted by policies made by the British government and decisions made without enough engagement were not given enough attention, an agenda, or even information. It further states that 2 letters urging the government to interact with the indigenous people were submitted in October and November, but the administration has not replied. Lammy has previously stated that it was challenging to obtain a single opinion from Chagosians while they were in the UK, but he also stated that the government will keep doing everything in its power to assist them. Following its announcement in October, the agreement to turn over the Chagos Islands has been contentious, with back-and-forth negotiations. Meanwhile, there are rumors that US President Donald Trump may veto the agreement due to concerns about China and Iran gaining access to the UK-US airbase on Diego Garcia Shadow Armed Forces. Minister Mark Furnoys called the agreement disastrous, arguing that Lammy should scrap the entire plan, but Lammy has maintained that it is a good deal that secures the airbase's future in addition to. A government spokesperson stated last week that talks were between the UK and Mayors to secure full operations of the base on Diego Garcia after the International Court of Justice ruled that the islands belong to Mayors. They also added that we acknowledge the significance of the islands to the Chai people and have worked to ensure this agreement reflects their interests. Negotiations between the UK government and the Chagosians at the official and ministerial levels began in November 2022. As part of the agreement, we will fund a new trust fund for Mayors to use in support of the Chosan community. We will also work with Mayors to launch a new program of visits for Chagosians to the Chos archipelago, including Diego Garcia, and Mauritius will be free to create a resettlement program on the islands. Other than in other news, Diego Garcia has nearly 5 million UK. The UK population is expected to increase by almost 5 million from 67.6 million in mid-2022 to 72.5 million by mid-2032, driven almost entirely by net migration, according to new figures from the Office for National Statistics. Population migrants are expected to arrive in the UK over the next 7 years. It is anticipated that the number of births and deaths would remain constant at roughly 6.8 million births and 6.8 million deaths. As a result of many individuals growing older from the baby boom after W2, births and deaths will both modestly increase, according to household and demographic predictions. According to James Robert, the UK's population is expected to increase by nearly 5 million people over the next 10 years due to migration and natural change, with the gap between births and deaths expected to be close to zero. He clarified that the projections are based on historical and current trends and are not forecasts of potential outcomes. Our most recent estimates also show that the population is getting older, with 3.3 million individuals over 85 expected to nearly treble by 2047. He claimed that the aging of the baby boom generation and overall increases in life expectancy are partly to blame for this. According to other data in the report, England's population is expected to grow faster than that of other UK nations until the middle of 2032, rising by 7.8% as opposed to 5.9% for Wales, 2.1% for Northern Ireland and 4.4% for Scotland. The ONS also offers additional forecasts for the next 25 years, from mid-2022 to mid-2047, during which time the population of the UK is expected to rise by 8.9 million, or 13.2%. This is less than the preceding 25 years, from 1997 to 2022, when the population increased by almost 9.3 million, or 15.9%. From mid-2022 to mid-2032, the number of persons at state pension age is expected to increase by 1.7 million, from an anticipated 12.0 million to 13.7 million. This estimate takes into consideration the anticipated rises in the state pension age to 67 for both men and women. By the middle of 2032, almost 10% of the UK population is expected to be 75 years of age or older, up from roughly 1 in 11 in the middle of 2022. Finally, as she concentrates on helping those impacted by California wildfires, the Duchess of Sussex had already delayed the launch of her Netflix lifestyle series with Love Meghan until March 4. A number of new podcast episodes featuring Meghan have also been delayed, according to Hello. Meghan Markle has had yet another setback after the decision was made to postpone episodes of her new podcast series. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been actively assisting wildfire victims, and the decision comes as the Duchess prioritizes relief efforts in her home state where many have been forced to abandon their homes due to wildfires. Giving food parcels and providing comfort to Pasadena evacuees who merely wished to assist in response to allegations that their efforts were a publicity hoax, a source said the Duchess also visited the Aladena Girls Fire Recovery, where she gave lunch and cosmetics to the impacted individuals. What do you think of the topics we covered in today's video? If you haven't already, please let me know in the comments section below. For more British stuff, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and goodbye.